Hey, it's Debbie, and I'm back with a new episode of Offbeat Life, where I speak to inspiring individuals who took a leap to follow their passions and find their purpose. I am so excited to welcome today's guest, Sara Melotti. She is an ex-dancer and fashion photographer who left a successful career in the fashion industry when she realized that she was producing work that was creating unrealistic standards of beauty for women. Sara is currently traveling all over the world, creating her new project, Quest for Beauty, which highlights the real beauty of the everyday woman. She has been featured in the New York Times, Italian Vanity Fair, Huffington Post, and more for her article, Instagram Created a Monster, which exposes the many tricks that Instagrammers are using in order to gain likes and following. Hey, Sara, how are you doing today? I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, Sara. Thank you. Can you fill in the gaps of why you live an offbeat life?
Okay, so I was a professional dancer for most of my life. Contemporary was my specialty, and I moved to America. I'm originally from Italy, northern Italy, and I moved to America to chase my dream of being a dancer. I wanted to dance in music videos and in theater and all that. And so I moved to Los Angeles. And a few years after I moved there, it was a mix between getting a back injury and realizing I was never going to be the best dancer in the world. So I quit dancing using the excuse that my back hurt too much. And I had a few months where I didn't know what to do in my life. And then I was given a camera as a gift. And I put together a photo shoot, a fashion photo shoot, because my vision was very feminine and fashion kind of was the genre that fitted best. So I put together the first photo shoot and it went really well, and I put together more and more, and within 6 months I built so much portfolio, and I started sending my work to magazines, and they got very interested, and I got a lot of press from the photography world because of the amount of work I had built so fast, of quality work. And then I took fashion photography seriously as a career, and I moved to London, and after a year in London things were going well. I had my clients already, and then I decided to do the big move to New York. And I lived in New York for about 2 years and I worked as a fashion photographer for about 3 years, when one day I realized that the work I was creating was contributing in making women feel horrible about themselves, because I was creating unrealistic beauty standards that we look up to the standards thinking we have to look like that, but that isn't real, because I know, because I used to create that. So I kind of had a conscious crisis, and I decided I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't be a fashion photographer anymore. So I came up with an idea to make up for the damage I had done, and I created this project I'm working on still to today, and it's called Quest for Beauty. And I decided to start traveling and photographing and interviewing women, asking them what is beauty to them, what does that mean to them, and what do they think makes a woman beautiful, to challenge and hopefully change these unrealistic standards we are forced.
Can you tell me the biggest sacrifice you had to make in order to create this lifestyle for yourself?
Comfort, definitely. It's something that you don't really experience a lot, and with living this kind of life. I don't really care for comfort. It's strange because I go in between waking up in a beautiful resort hotel one day, and the following day I'm waking up on the floor of a hut in Ethiopia. So it's a life of a lot of contrast, but comfort comes in very small doses. When you want to travel, especially I love to travel to remote areas, and I love to deal with ethnic minorities. So a lot of these villages are not very easy to access, so you have to go through a lot of discomfort to be able to stay in these places and do the work I want to do, but it's so worth it.
I love the fact that you said that, you definitely lose your comfort, because for our listeners out there, if you take a look at Sara's Instagram images and her blog, it looks like a fairy tale come to life. And it's great that in a lot of your blogs and in a lot of your images right now, you're talking about what it's really like on the road. And it's not just the pretty pictures. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of sweat, blood, and tears that you have to put on. And can you tell us what the biggest setback that you have ever faced, and how were you able to overcome that?
I can't think of a single one because there's so many. Living the life I do, I never know what's coming tomorrow. Finances are definitely a setback sometimes. Food poisoning, passport losing, like all these little things. But I can't think of a major one, because when I'm faced with an obstacle, I always push forward to overcome it.
That's really great. I mean, for a lot of us and for a lot of people, it can be a combination of all of those little setbacks that can get you over the edge. Sometimes there's one really dramatic or traumatic experience, but a lot of times, really, for most of us, it's those little things that get you there. And it's great that you're super persistent and that you just overcome it no matter what. One of the things that has gotten you a lot of attention right now, and it resonated with a lot of people in the social media community especially, is your article called "Instagram Created a Monster." So can you give us a little bit more of a background on that and why you decided to write that article?
Yeah, so I started using Instagram for more business purposes last July, when I decided, okay, I'm going to be on the road full time. When I decided to leave New York, and I eventually left New York in December, I realized that, okay, Instagram is a great tool that can help me be on the road. It can help me make the travel process easy by collaborating with brands and hotels and tour agencies. So I started putting a lot of emphasis on my Instagram, and I have a few friends that are big Instagrammers, and they explain me how you should do it. Basically, like, you have to have a profile that is visually pleasing, and as far as travel goes, you should go to this location. And I started doing it, and all the pictures I take, I still try to put my art into it, which is all about magic and fairy tales, and I have this very feminine vision of things, and I try to put it in my pictures. So they're pictures that are made to make people dream of travel, but the more I got into it, the more I got into Instagram, the more I realized that my picture were making people feel like shit again. Like I did in fashion. I put out that idea that, like, I have this perfect, beautiful life, when my life is a mess, like the definition of a mess. And so people look at my picture and think, oh, why don't I have that life? And it's so wrong, because all this picture we create on Instagram are fake. Like, not fake. I mean, I was there. That's me. There's not a lot of Photoshop done or anything. I don't change things in the picture, but we stop the moment. We stop our life to make that picture. And if you want to grow on Instagram and build a following, you had to play all these tricks and games to trick the algorithm. When the algorithm came into play, everything changed, and now people are not seeing our work, and to get our work seen, we had to come up with the strategies and tricks to trick the system. But what happened when when all this started and we started gaining a lot of followers by using the strategies, the problem with some of the strategies, one of which I call the Instagram mafia, which I love that everybody's using that term now. It's so funny. but like, for instance, in this case, I never been part of that, and I never followed and unfollowed people, but I'm pretty much guilty of everything else. But in this Instagram mafia, basically people comment at each other posts to inflate their engagement. And if you do it within the first, let's say, 45 minutes, you upload a picture, and all this big Instagram account, big meaning like above 5,000, let's say, followers, they comment at each other, then your picture will go up in this algorithm, and it will be seen by more people, and it will end up in the Explorer page. And if it ends up in the Explorer page, so many people will see it, and you get thousands and thousands of likes. But the problem is that these likes are not from your followers. Most likely these people won't follow you, so they're like basically empty likes. And this becomes a real problem when many of us are working with brands and are using Instagram as a tool to help our businesses, whatever that is. And while I was in Bali, I met with someone from the Instagram mafia, and it really explained me how it worked and all the dynamics, and I got so disgusted by it that I couldn't keep it inside me anymore. I was already struggling with the ethical matter, and when I got to know like all this, I was just done. I couldn't keep it in me anymore. I had to say it how it was.
You know, as you work really hard on it, and there's a lot of people who are very creative who go to Instagram, like you said, because they want to put something that, you know, they put their whole heart into it and passion. And now that's kind of gotten to the back burner, and it's about numbers and who's playing the game more and all of these tricks. And it's like you said, it's not as fun anymore, and your passion is completely taken out of it, and it's just about the numbers game. How do you stay inspired and motivated and focused every day and really not get distracted from your main goals?
Okay, so the main source of inspiration for me is reading a lot and listening to a lot of music. I spend a lot of my time in nature, just with my headphones on, listening to Ludovico Einaudi, which is an Italian composer, and that gives me some of my best ideas and feelings and things to twist into material creations. I'm very mystical about the way I work. Creativity for me is quite a mystical process. So that keeps me very inspired, music and reading. And I hear my calling so strongly that it's hard to ignore it. Mm-hmm. And as far as keep motivated, I try to listen to other people's words, people that inspire me. For instance, Neil Gaiman. You know Neil Gaiman?
Yes.
His Make Good Art speech is saved my life so many times. When I'm having a bad day, I just listen to that speech, and I automatically get back to who I am and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I can absolutely see how all of those inspirations shows in your work. So we talked about your biggest hurdles before, right? Some of them. But one of the things that you talked about is money, and that's one of the biggest hurdles. How are you able to create income when you have such a nomadic life?
So I'm a horrible business person. I'm an artist. And I can't really... money for me is such a weird thing because I don't care about it. Like, I know I need it to live and to survive, but my main purpose is never money. And when I take on projects or I do things, it's because I really want to do them. Of course, I also need to eat. So in order to do that, I using my photography skills. So a lot of criticism I got after I wrote that article about Instagram is like, oh, basically people say, oh, how dare you made it on Instagram, and thanks to Instagram, and now you're just turning your back to it, and now that you made it. First of all, having 28,000 followers on Instagram doesn't mean you made it. Let's be very clear about this. And I didn't make a dime on my Instagram to the day. Like everything, I'm getting a lot of collaborations. Yes, I collaborate with hotels, and I get the free stays at hotels, and I get free tours. But these are not free things. I don't pay for these things, but I have to work for them. I have to create content. I have to take pictures. I have to write about it. It's work. It's my job. So thanks to these collaborations, I managed to keep being on the road and spend very, very little money. Also, when you're traveling like right now I'm in Asia. I've been in Asia for 4 years, for 4 months. And it's very cheap here. It's very, very cheap. You can eat a great meal for $1 a day, So you can sleep in a decent hotel room for $5 a night. So I mixture between that and finding clients. I send 1 million emails a month basically to get clients, whether it's private clients or some brands or anything that is photography related, basically.
How do you usually get your clients when you did this?
I pitch my portfolio. I pitch my work. I literally shovel my work in front of people's faces constantly. I knock on as many doors as I can. I nurture the relationship I make, and it's really a matter of pitching your ass off and send 1 million emails. That's how you do it. A lot of people think that you can just sit down and wait for people to come to you. That's a very rare thing that you will be able to do once you knock on so many doors. There's very few doors left to knock on.
And that's the thing about this kind of industry that you have. I mean, with any industry really, is if you want to succeed, you have to really do the work. You have to walk the 1,000 miles to get there, and send 1,000 or more emails and get a lot of no's from that. I'm sure before you get the yeses.
Oh yeah, I have a folder in my email called Rejection, and it has hundreds of emails in there. You have to learn to reject rejection. A freelance life is an amazing life, but it's tough, and you have to have tough skin, and you have to be able to not take things personally and not let the rejection affect your self-worth, your value.
Well, I always find that the people who can take the punch the hardest and who can take as much rejection, because there's going to be 1 million of them, they're the ones that always stay in the game and the ones that eventually succeed. And a lot of times there's really no secret to it. It's just being persistent and
resilient. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. What advice would you give to someone who is really struggling to find themselves, or they do know what they want to do, but they're just really afraid to take the next step?
For someone who's struggling to find themselves, I would say decondition your thinking. Spend time alone and listen to your instinct. That's so important to me. I learned by now that I can only trust my instincts, and I can't listen to anybody. There are people I look up to that, yes, their opinion matters, but in the end, my gut feeling is what's always right. By listening to your instinct, you automatically will figure out what is it that you want to do. You have to listen to your curiosity and your instinct and those little things that makes you, that makes you tingle, like makes your heart tingle when you feel that, like, oh, I'm interested in that. You have to follow that, and that will lead you to figure out what is it that you want to do. And for those that already know what they want to do, and don't know how to take the next step, I would just say, take that next step. There's no way around it. Like, you want to do something, you have to do it. You find a way. Just do whatever you can to make it happen.
Yeah.
Get out of, be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable, and nothing comes easy.
And like you said, being uncomfortable, a lot of people are also afraid of that, right? Because we have all of these little things that we do every day, and we have a life that we're comfortable with. And then when you take someone out of that, oh my gosh, it just blows most people's minds. And, they think, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I won't have money. I won't have a place to live, and all of these different things. But, being out of your comfort zone is really a good thing.
When you get out of the comfort zone, you understand that you are much stronger than you think you are, and much more adaptable than you think you are.
Exactly.
Because I was a completely different person 3 years ago. I was living in the glitz and glamour of New York City fashion industry, and I couldn't have done any of the things I'm doing today, probably. And now I just keep getting more and more uncomfortable. And by doing that, I realized that I don't really need much. I need a roof over my head and food and myself. And that's it. There are times where I'm like, I found myself in a crazy situation where I had zero money in my hands and no way to get any, or laying sick on the floor, on a hotel bathroom floor, and you get past that and you figure it out and you find a solution and you understand that you can really create your own destiny. And it's powerful, but you never understand any of that if you stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because a lot of us underestimate our own capabilities because we are so resilient. Human beings are very resilient, but we never figure that out if we never go outside of what we know. Now, what about what you're working on today? What is it that you are really excited about?
My project, Quest for Beauty, which is still in the making. I'm really, really happy when I do that. It's something that is giving me so much joy, and it's right now I'm in a phase where I think I need to do a Kickstarter to keep it going, because I care more about the interviews, honestly, than the pictures, because it's more of a research project now. It's evolving like that, and I always struggle with the language. I need translators and fixers to help me to really get something out of this. That's in the making, and probably soon I will do that. And then I'm writing a book, and it's called, can I swear?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
I'm writing a book. It's called Fuck You, I'm an Artist. And it's basically a memoir, but it's meant to give an insight on an artist's life and challenge what we think the way we should live. Basically, like, we have a very clear idea of what society tells us life should be, and the book I'm writing is to challenge that and to make people understand that their dreams are more important than ego.
That's incredible. I cannot wait until that comes out, because this is actually one of the biggest reasons why I started this podcast, is because I am so, I admire people who take that and go for what they really want. I definitely want to read that book, Sarah. So make sure you let us know once that comes out, because I will definitely read it, and I'm sure a lot of people will also. So if our listeners want to know more about you and what you do, and obviously your projects, where can they find you?
You can find my project at www.questforbeauty.co. You can read my thoughts on my blog, which is behindthequest.com. And you find me on Instagram at Sara Melotti _ or on Facebook as Sara Melotti Photography.
Thank you so much for taking this time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me and for letting me speak my mind.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Sara. Make sure to visit theoffbeatlife.com for killer resources and so much more.
Need a new novel to read? Well, you're in luck. I'm giving away a free audiobook and a 30-day trial to audible.com. Visit offbeatbook.com to get a hold of your free book and so much more. Again, that's offbeatbook.com.